What's up, guys? Welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, J Mill, J Miller, if you like. Let's get into it. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. But yeah, let's get into it. Um, the Cowboys trade a fifth round pick for Joe Melton and a seventh round pick. The pick ends up being about 42 slots different from where the Cowboys would have picked in the fifth round. So essentially, it's Joe Melton in a pick swap, which is almost nothing for what could essentially be your backup quarterback. We'll see how it goes in training camp. I do believe the Cowboys are going to make him compete with Will Greer, but um, if we're just being honest, Joe Melton's probably better than Will Greer at this point. Um, so it'll be interesting to see if the Cowboys decide to still. I know if you guys remember my last episode, we did a full 7 round mock draft complete with, whether or not we would accept trades and everything. And I know I ended up taking quarterback Dylan Gabriel, I believe, from Oregon in the fifth round to be that, hey, he's going to be the backup quarterback to Dak Prescott. Dylan Gabriel, he's more in the mold of not a super strong arm guy. Think, Chad Pennington, uh, think Cooper Rush. 5'11" too, so he didn't have the prototypical height, but very accurate with his throws and good experience. So he seemed like a guy that could come in and have a high floor. If Dak Prescott ended up, let's say, missing 2 to 3 games, you could have the rookie come in at some point during the season and, play those 2 to 3 games. He is accurate, so that means he will be on target, getting the ball to whoever you draft, and also CeeDee Lamb, your running back out of the backfield, Jake Ferguson, and let those guys do what they do after the catch. So it is going to be interesting to see. Joe Melton is a completely different quarterback. Accuracy isn't necessarily his strength as a quarterback, but his strength is mobility. His strength is arm. Arm talent is through the roof. I believe, man, the guy can probably throw the ball about 80 yards if you wanted him to. So if you're looking for, excuse me, upside, Joe Milton definitely has it. As far as him and Will Greer, we'll see how that works out. The Cowboys probably I would think most certainly would bring in a either undrafted free agent or maybe even still spend a late round pick on a quarterback. They're not gonna. And before they did the Joe Melton trade, there was a world in which I could envision the Cowboys spending a top, say, 150 pick on a quarterback. I don't think that's the case anymore. They're either going to go, sixth or seventh round or undrafted free agent and have four arms in camp and see what happens. Let the chips fall where they may and see who ends up winning. Right now, as we see this today, if we were doing the quote unquote, if we were playing a game today, I do think Joe Milton would be the backup quarterback to Dak Prescott. He showed quite a bit in that last game with the New England Patriots. Now, let's keep in mind that he was playing against the Buffalo Bills backup. So what I did was I went back and watched every single snap that Joe Milton had against the Buffalo Bills, and I went back and also to the preseason and watched every single snap that he had against the Washington Commanders. Um, and what I saw was there's so let's start with the good first. The good was tremendous arm talent, lot of very good feel for the pocket, right? So as the pockets collapsing around him and rushers are going around him, he's not one of those guys that's just going to stand in and let the ball get smacked out of his hands or, stand in and take a sack. He has a very good feel. He has a very good clock in his head, right? He gets to the top of his drop. He's looking for his receiver. If he doesn't have it, he's on the move because he knows whatever's happening around him, it's over. He needs to move. He needs to escape to buy time to get the ball out to his receivers, right? So that was the good. Also, one of the good things I saw is he's actually pretty okay throwing the ball on the run, right? A lot of times when he escaped and he threw the ball on a run, he actually was making big plays, whether it was the Buffalo game or the Patriots game. The Commanders game. There were some times when I saw him in that Commanders game and even in the Patriots game, but the difference is the result, right? So I'll get to what I mean by that in a second. But there was a lot of times where I saw him in the Commanders game. He got outside the pocket. He scrambled a little bit. He threw the ball. Sometimes it was like behind his receiver and the ball would be dropped. But in the game against the Buffalo Bills, he would scramble. He would get outside the pocket. Sometimes the ball would be behind his receiver, but they would catch it, right? So this is kind of where Joe Milton's game needs the most work because I do feel that his touch is lacking a little bit. So a lot of times when he gets outside the pocket, he still has that just rifle of an arm and he's firing it in there. And so a lot of times he's not meeting the receiver where they're going to be. His eyes and his arm are not matching, the play design. So you're getting outside of the pocket, you're scrambling, whether it's to the right or to the left, and you're deciding, okay, this receiver is crossing my face. I see him at point X, and I'm throwing it to point X, but the receiver ended up at point Y. So the receiver makes a nice adjustment because a lot of these guys, they made the team because they can make nice adjustments on the fly and catch those balls, i.e. the Buffalo game. But in the preseason, when you're dealing with lesser talent, lesser receivers, you end up with a lot of balls hitting the ground, i.e. the Commanders game. So what we're going to need to do is kind of marry his eyes with his movement just a little bit better. Now, I don't know if that's something that can be taught or if that's something that's natural, right? You got Josh Allen out there who our current offensive assistant worked with. We hired Ken Dorsey, who worked with Josh Allen a lot in Buffalo and kind of fine-tuned his accuracy. And there are some similarities between Josh Allen and Melton. Now, Josh Allen, right now, he's an MVP. He has a tremendous arm. He's a big body guy. You really can't bring him to the ground. When he takes off running, he punishes you, right? It's very similar with Joe Milton. Joe Milton is 6'5", 230 pounds, right? So he's a big dude, but that big dude ran a 4.49 at the combine. So he's a big dude with some speed, right? So when he gets outside of the pocket and he decides to scramble for yards, that's going to be one of his best attributes. But what the Cowboys are probably looking to fine tune is when the play breaks down, as Mike McCarthy liked to famously say, when you're above the 2.3 and you like to get outside the pocket and you're looking for CeeDee Lamb, you're looking for Jake Ferguson, you're looking for running back to be named later, or Javonte Williams because he's on the team right now. You want to make sure that you're giving your guy a better chance to make plays on the ball more consistently, right? Because I did see a play that was it was probably the best play of the game against the Buffalo Bills, where he scrambled for probably about 8 to 9 seconds. He went right, he went left, and then he finally found a guy and he delivered it down the left sideline with just amazing touch, perfect accuracy. Ball was caught, but it was called back because of a holding penalty. So I've seen it, right? And when you're looking at scouting in the NFL, unfortunately, this can bite you, but also fortunately, this can also make you find a player that you can fine tune into something great. You just don't know. It all depends. There's so many outstanding factors. But if I see it once, I can see it again, right? I can bring it out of that person. So seeing that play was encouraging. Hopefully, he doesn't have to play this year, right? He gets to play in the preseason a little bit, and he gets to play all the preseason games, maybe even have a game where he takes all the snaps, he wins the backup job, and he just gets to sit behind Dak for however many games the Cowboys play this year, whether it's 17, 18, whatever have you. And then we go into next offseason, and he kind of gets to go through a full offseason in the Cowboys system with the same coaching staff and do it all over again, right? That's the ideal plan for this quarterback. But I'm glad to see the Cowboys make the move. I think it really helps them out. I feel like it opens up their draft board a little bit. because now they don't necessarily, like, if they don't get a running back in the first 3 rounds and then they have to sit through the run in the fourth round, when they get to the fifth round, they're not like, man, we need a backup for Dak Prescott. Now they can kind of draft pure and maybe take some of those flyers that might turn into good players, because there's certain positions that are very deep in this draft. You have defensive end, you have defensive tackle, you have running back, of course, because we need it. So let's hope, that the Cowboys are just able to draft a little bit more pure, being that they shored up one of their remaining needs. I still think they know going into this draft they need pretty much 3 things, like very heavily, and that's running back, that's wide receiver, and that's defensive tackle as far as one technique. And when I say one technique, we're not talking about what Osa Odighizuwa does, right? Osa Odighizuwa lines up as the 3 technique. The one technique is the guy that's lining up either head up over the center or between the center and the guard to kind of try to take on those double teams, free up the rest of your guys, be stout in the run game, just be a big trash can full of dirt that nobody can move. So that's kind of what the Cowboys are looking to fill in this draft. So let's pivot to that a little bit, because I do want to address some things that I've been hearing a little bit. So as you guys know, big fan right here. Jay is a big fan of Amari Hampton. And so, there's been some mocks to Amari Hampton, and a lot of people have started to kind of chatter some noise like, oh, that's a reach. Oh, the Cowboys are not looking at positional value. And why would you draft a running back that early? And, all these different things, right? So one of the things that we need to remember when we're talking draft, right? I don't care how many media guys you listen to, right? Because I listen to all of them. I love the draft show, DallasCowboys.com. I consume Locked On Cowboys. I'm pretty much just like you guys. I'm hunting Cowboys content wherever I can find it. The problem is these people are just like you and me, right? We're all sitting here. Jason does not work for the Dallas Cowboys, right? Brian Broaddus does not work for the Dallas Cowboys, even though he did at one point. Bobby Belt doesn't work for the Dallas Cowboys. 105.3 The Fan doesn't work for the... None of these guys work for the Dallas Cowboys. Mel Kiper does not work for the Dallas Cowboys. Adam Schefter, nope, doesn't work for the Dallas Cowboys. So what we think and what they think and what the rest of NFL teams think is way different. So when you hear people talking about this guy is a reach or this guy shouldn't fall, and then come draft night, it's always completely different. It is. And you will hear every year when we get around this time, all these people that we rely on, all these people that we go look at, they always say, oh, I was so wrong on that player. Oh, man, last year I said, don't pick that guy. And then he was this. Or last year I said, pick that guy. And he was a bust. How did I not see it? He had these traits and he had that traits. And I watched this film here. And so if the Dallas Cowboys pick Amari Hampton, if the Dallas Cowboys pick Will Johnson, do not all of a sudden, throw your hat on the floor and stomp and be upset, because those people have just as much chance of being right as you do, as I do, as anyone does. Because most of the things that make up a great NFL player are human traits, right? And if there's anything that we know about humans, it's that they're unpredictable. So we can sit here and we can look at the film and think all of this and all of that, but then when the guy gets to the NFL, we don't know how the money changes him. We don't know how hard he works. We don't know what's going on in his personal life that affects his plan of field. We don't know how, just like you go to work and you have an asshole boss that doesn't like you for some reason and you can't figure it out, it's the same with an NFL coach and a player. Might not be able to figure it out. I can't work it out here. You know what I'm saying? It could be personality clashes. There are so many different variables that cause players to either succeed or fail, right? So nobody's right, nobody's wrong. But take everything you hear, especially this time of year, with a grain of salt, because this is called lying season, right? Everybody's lying. Everybody's lying. All these NFL teams are trying to throw all the other NFL teams off. They'll feed information to draft pundits to have them mock somebody here or mock somebody there. Perfect example. There was a left tackle last year who went number 9. I think it was Latham or Latham. I might be pronouncing his last name. There was a lot of talk that JC Latham. There was a lot of talk pre-draft process that he might be able to make it to the Cowboys. I think they were drafting at 26. At 26, Cowboys could take JC Latham, and then JC Latham went in the top 10. There was people talking about Bijan Robinson making to the Cowboys at 26. Bijan Robinson was the first running back off the board in the top 10. Right now, there are people talking, oh, Amari Hampton could go to the Cowboys at 12. Amari Hampton might be a second-round pick. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Ashton Genty, no way he makes it to the Cowboys. He could be there at the Cowboys pick, and they could pass on him because they like another person better. Oh, Tedderone McMillan, he's going to be in the teens. Tedderone McMillan could go number 4. So just take everything you're hearing with a grain of salt because these guys, they know about as much as you and me. And I swear that's true. Now, if you're a person you're not going to watch the film, you're not going to try to study these guys, you're not going to try to make your own determinations, then I got nothing for you. I don't think you can argue much. But if you're doing your due diligence and you're going out and you're watching some film or you're a fan of the team and you've seen all of Matthew Golden's games and you're like, dude, that dude is a top 15 pick, and you've seen all his games, then I got you. But if you never watched another wide receiver to compare him to, then it's like you don't really have a perspective as far as how good or not the player is. So I just wanted to touch on that because I've seen a lot of heat thrown the Cowboys' way about possibly picking Amari Hampton. And I think Amari Hampton, he's my pet cat. He's probably my favorite player in this draft. I think he's going to be a star in the NFL. And I think people are going to be like, you can't pick a running back at 12? That's not good value. And then when he comes into the NFL and he's Saquon Barkley, people are going to be like, man, the Cowboys messed that pick up. They could have picked up Amari Hampton at 12, and they passed on him. And it's like, y'all are the same people that was just saying we can't pick this dude at this thing because of the motherfucking value. So just be very, very careful what you're hearing, what you're listening to, and kind of what you're taking as the gospel because these people are not really plugged in or as plugged in as you think they are when it comes to the draft. When it comes to the other things, I might be able to give a little bit more credence. But that's my time for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter at JMillerIYL. That's JMiller if you like. You can also hit me up at knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. Again, knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. You can hit me up at knockersonthebottom@gmail.com. You can also leave comments below if there's anything specific you want me to cover. I'll take them here. I'll take them via email. Take them via Twitter. Throw it into a mailbag. Make it a formal segment. And actually, speaking of that, we are almost at the point where we can have a mailbag segment. That's right, guys. It's coming. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. We're at 59 subscribers. When we get to 100, we'll give away something else. So just keep hitting it, and then we'll make sure to give away something good for everybody there, and have somebody getting some money in their pocket. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Love you guys. Until next time, I'm your host, J Miller if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Peace.